Story 1. Turn on various accessibility features on their computer, like high contrast or voiceover, or move their cursor sensitivity all the way down. This works especially well on people who are not skilled in information technology. Story 2. We had an employee leave, so I went to her desk and swiped her keyboard. I popped off all of the keys and put them back on in alphabetical order. The two home row markers, F and J, wouldn't fit, so I had to put them out of sequence. I went to someone else's desk and hid their keyboard. Then I put the rearranged keyboard on their desk with the following note. As requested, here is your alphabetical keyboard. Information technology. The guy was reportedly frustrated, but actually plugged it in and tried to use it. Much to his disappointment, the keys were mapped like a regular keyboard, and he was struggling with it. His coworker stopped him just before he called the help desk to complain. Story 3. Buy one of those birthday cards that plays music. Carefully rip the tiny device out, being careful not to tear the piece of paper that, when flattened out, initiates the music. The entire device is smaller than a quarter and much thinner. Tape it under your boss's door when they aren't around. The device usually lasts 4 hours, and I can almost guarantee they will never find it. Sit back and watch your boss repeatedly open the door out of annoyance. Story 4. We decorated a young man in his late 20s office entirely in pink with "It's a Girl" banners while he was on vacation. He and his girlfriend were not expecting. He fielded congratulations from unsuspecting well-wishers for weeks after he came back. We have covered people's offices in gift wrap or foil, right down to each pen or coat hanger. We wrapped someone's landline entirely in rubber bands. One manager's closed-door office was filled to the ceiling with balloons. One coworker was a big soccer fan. I turned her office into a soccer pitch. One person had a treasured figurine in his office. We took it for ransom and decorated his office with quiz clues, and he had to answer them all to get the figurine back. Story 5. One of my former colleagues used to move our stuff around by small increments, which would make us doubt if we had moved them ourselves or if we put it there to begin with. Story 6. I used to empty my hole puncher into my colleague's umbrella, which he used to keep next to his desk. Then, I would wait anxiously for a rainy day and follow him outside. The look on his face while getting covered in confetti on one of Sydney's busiest streets was priceless. Story 7. A friend of mine once switched 2 keycaps from a colleague's keyboard. It was super entertaining. It ended up backfiring as the guy reached his maximum password retries and they were 1 sales member down for the afternoon. He came clean. Story 8. My workplace currently has an infestation of tiny ducks. They're the size of a fingernail. At least a dozen have been found in our building, which contains the regulation compliance, information technology, human resources, various manager offices, and our laboratory. No one knows who did it, and my department, the laboratory chemists, keeps moving them around when we find one. Someone gave me one, so I have decided to either put it in the meeting room where managers get yelled at by compliance for violations or the fancy meeting room where people get fired. Story 9. We pranked a girl in my office by changing the program to sandbox mode and made it look like 350 orders instead of around 50, which is the norm. She freaked out, then knew immediately it was me. She's my buddy. Story 10. At my first office job some time ago, my coworker often came in hungover, much like the rest of our team, but there were days when he was really struggling. We played a few pranks on him. We reversed the functions of the left and right mouse buttons. We took a screenshot of their desktop and then moved all the icons into a folder. Watching the poor guy clicking around aimlessly was glorious. Eventually, he involved the information technology department, who also couldn't figure out what was going on. 3 hours later, we finally cracked and told him. He was a great guy, and it was an awesome team and company. I miss those days. Story 11. Move their mouse to the other side of their keyboard once a day for as long as you can. It's a minor annoyance, but the repetition of it will be hilarious. Story 12. Every time there's a staff meeting and all the focus is on the speaker, discreetly call your coworker's cell phone to watch everyone stop and stare. Bonus points if you can raise the volume to the max before the meeting. Story 13. The IT specialist in our office used to get frustrated with people leaving their laptops unlocked when they would leave their desks for breaks. Now, it automatically times out, but back then it didn't, so he would jump on and set up a fairly graphically noisy audio file to play, then quickly lock the computer. When they came back and unlocked it, the file would resume playing at full volume. Since they had no idea what was playing, it always took them a minute to find and close it. The file name was "Lock Your Computer Next Time, Thanks, IT.mp3. Story 14. As a network administrator, I input two commands. The first required them to change their password. The second locked out their ability to change their password, but only for the short term. You don't want to keep them that way for too long. Work has to get done. Story 15. A favorite prank for trot-eyes to pull on apprentices here in Australia, and probably everywhere, is to send them into a hardware store for things like left-handed screwdrivers or a long wait. Story 16. We used to go to a conference every year. One person didn't want to come, so they had to stay in the office and look after phones, etc. I purchased an Annoyatron and set it up under a desk. Every 5 minutes or so, a cricket would chirp. When we came back, they said they heard a cricket and sprayed under the desk, but it kept going. I call that a success. In another office where I worked, everyone complained about no one replacing the milk. I wasn't drinking coffee at that time, decided to have a break from it, so I went and got it. My desk was at the back of the floor with the kitchen up the front, so I'd go get the milk, pour myself a large glass, and walk through the office. Got dragged into the managing director's office about it, as some clown complained about me drinking all the milk. I simply said that I didn't drink coffee, so the amount I have in my glass would be the same as I would have in a coffee a couple of times a day. The managing director told me not to do it so obviously. I just stopped getting the milk and stopped drinking it. The complaints about no one getting the milk continued. Story 17. So, my coworker won a jar of honey at a statewide conference and decided to have a little fun. For 2 weeks, several teammates casually kept dropping honey into conversations, like, "Oh, have you tried honey in your coffee?" Or, "Man, I could really go for some honey right now." It was all pretty subtle, and I was starting to wonder if I was just going crazy, or if I missed the memo on some new honey cult. Then one morning, I'm making my coffee, and I see this jar of honey on the counter, with my face on it. The label said, "Last name family honey." I nearly spat out my coffee. Turns out, they made this custom jar that was actually from my hometown just to mess with me. The best part? 6 months later, someone new in the office casually asks, "Hey, how's your family's honey business doing these days?" The joke that kept on giving, and I guess I'm in the honey business now. Story 18. I connect all the paper clips in one of those magnetic ring clip holders so when they pull on one, they get all of them. Used to love hearing my name yelled across the office. Story 19. I work at a liquor store, and once in a while, when a coworker is putting a familiar bottle in a familiar place, I'll go, "Wait, are you the one who puts that there?" And let them panic a little. It's salve to my soul to mess with them just a bit. Story 20. Put voice-activated stickers on items like hand paper towel holders and others. Change someone's mouse cursor to display the endless loading wheel or circle as a default setting. Depending on the person and their sense of humor, switch 2 keyboard letters around. Add additional words to whiteboard lists that don't entirely make sense. Story 21. Years ago, I wrote a script that would lock someone's computer remotely. One moment, they would be working on a spreadsheet or whatever. Then suddenly, press Ctrl-Alt-Delete to unlock PC. They would unlock it and keep working. Then I would do it again a few minutes later. These were all IT guys, too. I am actually a little disappointed in how long it took some of them to figure it out. Story 22. Also, one Friday before a long weekend, that is, Monday was a public holiday, I sent out an all-staff email thanking them for all their hard work on behalf of management. I said as a reward, they could all take Monday off as free paid leave. I received a lot of confused emails. Shortly thereafter, they restricted who could send all-staff emails. Story 23. My old job was at a major electronics retailer, so every department had a phone, and the whole tone was a looped recording of an excited guy basically trying to promote the products. It was very annoying to listen to for an extended time. I would call another department, go and answer it, then put it on hold, go back to mine and put it on hold, so both phones had each other on hold. Then I would page someone or a department saying cameras line 1 or whatever. They would answer and hear the loop thinking it was another store, and we would see how long it took them to hang up. Another person would call the talking clock, park the call, and then page it through. Story 24. One time, a colleague was checking stock for an order, and I just went to him and pointed at the stock without saying anything. For about a minute, he was constantly asking me, What's wrong? What is it? And getting more and more irritated while I kept my same pose the whole time without saying anything. Story 25. Our nameplates have job titles. For a while, the catering manager was Head Pokemon Catcher. Gotta catch 'em all. The library was also secret entrance to Batman's lair. Story 26. Take a screenshot of their computer's desktop, then hide all their icons in a folder. Set their background picture to the desktop screenshot. I've even had information technology clicking away at icons in frustration after the person called them. Story 27. We have these little scanners for barcodes on our desks. I made a little keychain of printed, laminated insults in barcode form. I could scan it as I walked by my coworker's desk while he was working, and it would pop up wherever they were typing. Story 28. Saying their name just under your breath without looking or reacting to them asking who keeps doing it. My friend did this to a coworker and I was in tears, trying not to ruin it for him. Story 29. My coworkers hang all of their jackets on the backs of their chairs. I put scrunched up paper into their pockets when they are away from their desks. They are all suspicious of each other. Take most, but not all, of the staples out of their staplers. If you do this every couple of days, it's enough to keep them refilling the stapler, but not suspicious enough to confront anyone about it. Story 30. If they walk away from their Windows PC without locking the screen, a quick keyboard command, Ctrl+Alt plus the down key, will invert the screen so everything is upside down. The same command, but using the up key restores the normal view. Had a lot of fun with that over the years. Story 31. The most I ever did was turn a coworker's screen upside down, but then flip the monitor upside down. He sat down and looked slightly puzzled, turned the monitor right side up, and then became even more confused because now his desktop was upside down. He had to call our IT department. Story 32. I know a guy who put his friend's stapler in Jell-O. The other guy was a bit odd, though. He once locked us all in and set off the fire alarm. He even added a smoke bomb and had taken a blowtorch to the door handles to simulate a real fire. Story 33. Freeze a can of shaving cream. Cut the can away. Place the frozen cylinder of cream into a drawer. It will expand to its full volume, sealing the drawer shut. When they tug on it hard enough, the entire contents of shaving cream will erupt. Story 34. Often act toward that person as if you want to say something to them, but then you think about it and subsequently forget it until they come and ask you about it. Then you tell them that everyone actually says forget about it, all right? Story 35. Wait until they leave their laptop unlocked and then invite everyone to a lunch homemade by your colleague. I did this once, and not only was it funny, but we all got homemade falafel. Story 36. I just flat out ignore, overlook, and do not acknowledge anything legal sounding in emails from the other side that's incorrect. It's great when their exasperation helps them learn. Story 37. We use metric tape measures all the time at work, then write down the measurements with a pencil plus or minus 3 millimeters deviation. We're notorious for adding any number at the end of whatever measurement. For example, 286 millimeters becomes 2,867 millimeters, which makes the first person measuring look ridiculous. It's almost a given the first measurement is way off. Story 38. My favorite was always to 1. Flip their desktop background image vertically and then make the flipped image their background. 2. Use the personal computer screen orientation settings to rotate their desktop 180 degrees. Now, their computer appears to be fine, but any mouse movements will be reversed or upside down. Story 39. Last year, I had a coworker who coped with his attention deficit hyperactivity disorder by playing with a bouncy ball in his free time. I ordered a bag of 50 bouncy balls, and over the course of a few weeks at the end of the school year, I put a few each day into his take-home bag when he was out of his classroom. He never figured out that it was me. Story 40. I work in a lab, and there are various sized disposable glove boxes around the workstations. To mess with people, we replace the top layer of a box with a size down. It's a small thing but hilarious to watch. Story 41. I used to work in an office where I had to take or make a lot of phone calls while taking notes or using the computer, so I switched the mouse buttons to left-handed. Several coworkers got lost trying to show me something on the computer because the buttons were switched. This led to several mild pranks, such as changing the mouse speed, but one of the best, not mine, I can't take credit, was when someone swapped mice with the person next to them but didn't tell them. Person A would move their mouse, and person B would copy the movement so the mouse did the right thing. Most of the time. Story 42. Steal the staples from their stapler every morning. Tell them you moved 5 of their desk items 5 centimeters to the left, but don't say which items. Do nothing, and when you see them ask, "Did you find it yet?" Then walk away.